Baz Luhrmann's 1996 Romeo and Juliet was a box office success. It premiered at number one, and out of a budget of 14.5 million, it earned 147 million at the box office. So a financial success, as well as spawning the number two Billboard album of the year with the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack. A lot of mid 90s themes present in Baz Luhrmann's depiction. We got a Tarantino esque stylings. We see hints of True Romance, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, even Natural Born Killers. All moderate successes. Culturally, maybe not so much financially. This movie shows a kind of breakthrough in alternative styles of media becoming very mainstream. Leonardo DiCaprio, after rave reviews and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, was chosen by Baz Luhrmann for his Romeo ahead of time. Looking for a Juliet, they eventually found Claire Danes, who seemed just perfect for the role, coming from the also kind of alternative high school drama, My So-Called Life. So Baz Luhrmann had to respond to criticism when this movie came out. Many critics were kind of taken back by this depiction of Shakespeare, criticizing it, or maybe even trying to praise it by calling it very MTV-esque, seeming very much like a music video. This, in particular, seems to have chafed Baz Luhrmann. He wanted to say over and over again how he was really just going to, according to Shakespeare, really saying, hey, expand your idea of what cinema is. Look at cinema from India, look at world cinema, things like that. So he had quite a reaction. Must have, I think it hit a raw nerve for him, because there's no way to deny that this movie is very much a product of the kind of culture created by television itself, and evolved, right, into forms like MTV that would make this movie the success that it was. So you had critical complaints from people like Roger Ebert, right? He called it a punk mess compared to other historically inaccurate, but still, in his mind, artistically successful depictions of Shakespeare from directors like Kurosawa and so forth. So why is it this MTV? Why so much of the MTV? Right? It's the frenetic cuts. It's the effects. We can see it. It's the importance that music plays to this version. And I don't think this movie would have been as successful as it was without this kind of connection to youth culture in the latter 20th century. So it also, now we can take away this movie as kind of sitting in this locus point of the fracturing of the former shared frame of reference that maybe society used to have. So let's move on to what is probably in my view, in the view of this video essay, the most impactful shot in this movie, and that's the prologue and also the epilogue. But here the prologue introduces it. It's classic. It's a classic trope. The television news announcer is doing the job here of the Greek chorus, what Schlegel called the ideal spectator, perfectly described as an objective TV news reporter. This has given us a version of a more local TV news reporting, and it's doing the work, the lifting of giving us a background info, giving us a setting. And here we actually see the chorus as a character in the drama. So this is something that was debated by even Greek dramatists about how much the chorus should be an actual character, should be involved in the drama. And here the character is the chorus. The chorus is a character. So different ways the chorus can give us exposition, basically, right? We need sometimes in storytelling exposition. What's happening in a way that we can't be shown otherwise. So the stage has various forms of this, right? We can think of the classic singing chorus of a musical. But Shakespearean dialogue also has a lot of this exposition built into it. And it's one of the first things that gets cut when we're doing these movie interpretations. So when we talk about Shakespeare at the movies, we're often talking about edits. We're talking about cuts, what dialogue is removed. And oftentimes it's the dialogue that's visually descriptive, that's supposed to be showing us something, but they can't, right? So they've got to tell us. Now we've got the tools of cinema and of television and a video in general, and we don't always have to have characters explain things in this way. So exposition, universe, well, nowadays generally thought of as a negative thing, something to be avoided, or something to be cleverly disguised. Here we see kind of a great way to do that, and that's by using this television, but not using it in a kind of silly, tropish way that it often might get used in, the coincidental broadcast that just happens to come on right when the characters need it to, what the newscaster saying, for those of you just tuning in, let me repeat this thing that's happening. We don't see that. We see this done by sticking to the Shakespeare and using it as a traditional Greek chorus. There's a lot that we could learn about how effective this is. Also, we see the repetition of the chorus given a different narrator style of announcement that happens directly after the TV broadcaster. So we hear it twice. And we also get another trope taken from television, the opening sequence to a TV drama. And this is done quite intentionally. And so we see the director is using the sense of irony that was very common in this 1990s setting that we're seeing it in. Is it still relevant today? We might ask ourselves, can we still use these kind of now somewhat dated TV tropes? Well, here we can see that the person on the street interview might give us the exact same kind of feeling we might get from the smartphone being a replacement. So here we can see multiple different posters, right? Whether they're YouTube influencers, whether they're TikTokers, whatever it is, all giving different points of view. We can put these together to create a kind of chorus, right? They may be somewhat more dissonant, right? We may have a less unified chorus. So we can see maybe an evolving complexity of the idea the chorus can play in a modern day drama. Now, returning to this Shakespeare movie being so successful, even though some critics wanted to mock it at the time, found it somewhat distasteful, maybe offensive, or disrespectful to the original material, we can see that this was a box office success. Can this happen again? Could this happen again? Could any other depiction of Shakespeare be this popular? Any other Shakespeare play? Is this only Romeo and Juliet that can have this kind of outreach because it's reaching young people in the dramatic way that it does? Hard to say. Let's look at past years' big media events, Barbie or Barbenheimer, however you want to go about looking at it, as a box office success. Both of these two movies help to buoy each other and create a kind of counterpoint experience that draw people out of their houses to the movie theater. Back in the house, we had the streaming TV smorgasbord that we've been used to now for several decades. The Last of Us was maybe the biggest of the premieres of last year. Kind of meh overall. It's a video game rehash. Can Shakespeare fit into something like this? Not very easily, right? Interestingly enough, it could be done if we wanted to do a long form telling of actual conditions of Stratford-on-Avon, of the actual, actors, and then their performances as well. There's a possibility there. And then we can think about live performances as well. Taylor Swift shows us that this is still very much a marketable and financially successful thing to do, even though people had written off maybe even the concert. So some amalgamation of all these. Maybe we'll see some other enterprising new media director, in whatever form that takes, be able to do the same to other Shakespeare. But it'd be pretty hard to beat this Baz Luhrmann 1996 version of Romeo and Juliet.